Due to technical issues on Instagram, I've had to move the live to here to talk about everything ICF. Hopefully I'll get one or two people passing some comments. If not, I'll talk to myself for half an hour. So here we go. A lot of people obviously on Facebook will know us. For those who don't, I'm Steve Lenihan, founder and CEO of ICF Future Build. Tonight's was obviously the launch on Instagram, etc. But there's technical issues with Instagram tonight, which is just my luck. So just to give you a bit of a background on myself, just to start everything off. Nearly 3 decades in building out of ICF now. People may ask, what is ICF? It is insulated concrete formwork. Which is a polystyrene block filled with concrete. To make it simple for everybody. Everybody thinks it's new in this country. Again, I would say it's probably not really well known, but for the older ones on here, there was a program called Tomorrow's World, and as the first ICF was on there in 1972. Yes, I'm old enough to remember 1972. What we have is a block that's just improved and improved, evolved, everything like that. We've moved on obviously in every way since the 70s, but now we up to a block that we use regular, which is an Amvic 350, or a lot of other manufacturers do the same sort of thing. So 350 wide, giving us a U value of 0.15. Building regs are 0.18, so this is way beyond the 0.15 U value. Brings us into passive levels. We also have a product that we use called IsoQuick. It's an insulated raft system, so that your whole building is wrapped in insulation. I think the main driver, I've got my thoughts on the zero carbon or whatever. I think would have been better off pushing the energy efficiency and reducing fuel bills rather than, pressing on for net zero, because if you get the right envelope, i.e. out of our ICF, the right fabric, you can, net zero will take care of itself. It'll take care of the emissions. We're reducing CO2 emissions, between 70 and 80% out of a build, along with solar PV, solar thermal. With now we have battery backup that we didn't years ago. We've got air source heat pumps, which again, it just in my opinion, I would say are really work best in a highly insulated house. I'm not too sure on retrofit, but I may be wrong. And heat ventilation recovery, because the houses are so airtight. So fit in heat ventilation recovery, it'll take the stale air out, it'll bring the fresh air back in. It'll also pick your body heat up, pick the heat from cougars and redistribute that back in into your heating system, which helps reduce energy bills. I know there's a lot of people that are skeptical about it, but over the last nearly 3 decades, I've proved that it works. So we have. I'll just give you a prime example. So, my late mum, we built one for a 4-bedroom house about, could possibly be 14, 15 years ago. There was a thing called Code for Sustainable Homes was in at the time. We achieved the first Code 5 in the Northeast. You went from level 1 to Code 6. So we used the first 0.15 U value block that had been used in the Northeast. We used the insulated RAF, which offers fabulous U values. I went solar PV, solar thermal at the time. We didn't have battery storage in them days, or very little of it. I went rainwater harvesting. I went, again, solar PV, solar thermal. I went an air source heat pump. I went heat ventilation recovery. And whether people choose to believe us or believe us not, Mum's bills per year came out at £60 per year. Not per week, not per day, not per month, per year. So I've proved time and time again that ICF works. Not just, we're not just saying that. Over the next few months, I'll produce data on everything that thermal imaging cameras to show you've got no heat loss out the walls. Years and years ago, we took products to the National Physics Laboratory. So if it's a warmish day and sudden drop in temperature on a night, we tested traditional brick and block, we tested timber frame, and we tested ICF. So that sudden drop in temperature on a night came out at brick and block. You were having to turn your heating on within 2 to 3 hours. Timber frame, 4 to 5 hours. ICF actually data came back that it was 18 hours before you would feel any drop in temperature, which then puts you back into the next day. So, I doubt whether I'm going to get very many questions tonight because it's such a short space of time, but I'll try and do some more lives moving forward where people can ask us questions on ICF. So you're probably just going to have to listen to me droning on for a little while, but we really need to be building better in this country, and obviously I would say, in my opinion, ICF gets us there. It really, really does. Again, I want to say we've probably only done about 15 in the Northeast, but countrywide we've done lots and lots over the 3 decades. So I'm hoping that next few months we have a big push in the Northeast. We're going to be doing an open day or a presentation so that we can invite housing associations, assisted living companies, architects, engineers, even contractors who are building social housing, so they can actually physically see what we're talking about. So I'll keep you so I'll have to keep you basically informed of those dates that we'll be doing it. We did one in Manchester a few months back, but I've pushed the guys from Anvic, from Ireland, to get over here and let's do one in the Northeast, in County Durham, because that's me, that's me home, and I want to see more comfortable living in County Durham. We build lots and lots of big houses for millionaires, multi-millionaires, etc. But I'm a great believer in that everybody should have comfortable living, and everybody should be able to reduce the fuel bills. So we'll next few months, in conjunction with Anvic and our other ICF partners and our insulated RAF partners, will be pushing in to get some open doors in the northeast. Again, people will say, yeah, you will. You're an ICF man. I've had it all over the years, but it really, really does work. We've had, over the years we've built, timber frame houses, and again, just my personal opinion. I'm not keen. Traditionally we used to be 5% dearer than brick and block. We've always been on par with timber frame, but now with all them building reg changes going back a couple of years to having to meet 0.18 U values, we actually under traditional build now, and you've got the added advantage of speed of build. Weather doesn't affect us as long as the concrete plants are open. We working on there. So again, the lads love it because they don't have any downtime. We'll be looking probably maybe turn of the year, looking at some, getting some trainees in, getting them, getting the young ones into the system so that we can grow it that way. Again, with the 0.15 U value block, we are passive levels without getting passive certified, because that's a story for another day. I just try to get me passion over of building better, giving people comfortable living conditions in the houses, etc. So I'm just trying to push it out there, try to this type of construction doesn't just have to be for the wealthy. We've over the years we've built schools out of it, we've built car showrooms out of it. There's everything. We've even been into Jersey to build a big one over there. Yes, predominantly it's probably been into the self-build market. People who building their forever homes, building pretty big houses, but we have done social housing over the years. We did one in West Rainton that won awards when we used the big O block many years ago. But I don't know who's watching, who's not watching. To be fair, we'll try and do another one when I can give people a bit more time to ask us questions about it. But we'll have how to put it, we do need to push it into the social housing market, assisted living market, where there's vulnerable adults, where they're getting looked after, traditionally refurbished bungalows or apartments, and so we'll be looking to push into that because of the zero maintenance on the product. So I'd like to say that I have a good relationship with most of the ICF manufacturers. So just to give you a bit of an idea, in a lot of the times we've been buying Amvic blocks, and they've got two factories, basically operating 24/7. So to just give you a bit of an idea of where I think there's a big growth in our ICF industry is in Ireland. They probably, of all new housing build, they probably between 20 and 30% is out of ICF. In the mainland, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, we probably only at about 0.3%. I get lots of people asking us questions. Why is it not as well used? People still think it's a self-built product, but we've proved over the years that it's so much more than than that. People might be, I don't know who's watching or whatever, and sorry if I'm droning on, but I'm just trying to get it out there that, I'm open to, and again, it's not political, so whatever government's in power, I'm open to set a few meetings up with the present government, because as I said early on, the net zero is a side issue. Let's get people's fuel bills down, energy bills down. Let's cut the CO2 there, and then net zero takes care of itself. And I know there's lots of people about solar panels. Everybody's up in arms in them about the fields, and that's a valid argument. I wouldn't argue against that, but I'm always pushing for, and people would say you would do because I'm an ICF man, fabric first. Let's get that right first. That will go down on the CO2. That will cut energy bills way down, and net zero will take care of itself then. We've got to, just in my opinion, we've got to have a mixture of energy, and obviously at the present time, oil and gas is still there. We need to be bringing more nuclear, but don't forget about the renewables, because they do work, which I'll touch on in a minute about the new standards that's coming in March. And again, you might have everybody up in arms about that. There's a thing that comes in March 2027 called the Future Home Standards, where, to give you a brief description, I'm doing something on YouTube at the moment where I'm trying to explain it in layman's terms, but the new Future Home Standards will reduce CO2 emissions from new builds by between 70 and 80%, and that can't be a bad thing. Whether I'd love for somebody to come on and ask us questions about it, and we can have a debate about it. So for low risk buildings, i.e. normal house building, that's going to come in March 2027. So the higher risk buildings, that will be going to September 2027. That then comes in there. But if you've already got your planning before next March, you've got a year's grace to get that build. After that, you've got no choice. It's law. The bigger builders get round it because they've already got the planning on big sites and this, that, and the other. And people's not aware of this. But if you look into the Future Home Standards, you'll see it really makes sense. You can't just piecemeal stuff like we've done since 2013. You're going for the fabric insulation, whether that's traditional with more insulation in the cavity, which for me will play into my hands because our block gets it there. If they've got to go wider cavities, you're looking at bigger wall ties, wider foundations, it will play into our hands a little bit. So we've got that coming in March, but if it's practicable, you would have to put 40% on new build, 40% of the ground floor in solar panels on. That is coming in March, regardless whether people believe it or not. You're going for low energy, low carbon heating systems, i.e. the air source heat pumps, the heat ventilation recovery. And again, I understand people pushing back against it, but again, we've just got to look at what's happened with the energy. I think where the government, the renewables, I've heard people shouting about obviously levies for this and grants for that and everything like that. All the companies, whether that's gas and oil or whether it's renewable companies, will get grants. In my opinion, what the government need to do is basically separate that from wholesale gas prices, and then you will see them down, because I've seen it on, as I explained early on my mum's house, how her energy bills was reduced, and that's 14, 15 years ago, and it's took us this long to get where we are now. But just in my opinion, the net zero narrative is, whether it's, we want to class it as spin or whatever, needs to be put to one side. Let's concentrate on building better, reducing energy, reducing CO2 emissions from the houses, and then the net zero will take care of itself then. I've heard the things on solar panels, if it's too hot they don't work. Well, that's not strictly true. They'll be a little bit less efficient, but they still operate now. I've heard all the stories, they melting in the sun, which is just, it's fairy stories. It's just not true, so hopefully when I can do another live and I can promote it a bit more, people will come on with their examples. If they've got solar in, tell me how it's operating. I'm just hearing of people that's got it installed, and they're saying, pay back 18 months. We're doing a house up in place called Lloyd up near Berwick at the moment, on the finishings, and the client saying there'll be a payback within 18 months, and then the fuel bills is really, really down, and that's where we should be at. So again, I apologise for the late switch over to Facebook. I'll try and organise it a little bit better for maybe next week or the week after, and then maybe people can send me questions in either on Facebook or Messenger that I could answer. So it was just beyond my control tonight. Bit of a panic from 10 to 7 when there was a technical issue with the live on Instagram, which is a real pity, because I was nervous but excited to come on. I'm just a normal guy, and I'm just trying to get awareness out there and a brand out there of our company, ICF Future Build, and trying to explain to people, what ICF's all about. So I'll just push on to how we build, because some of the ICF manufacturers try to class it as a DIY project, and again, people will say, why are you saying it's not? It's just my personal opinion, and I've seen that many DIY self-builds go wrong with ICF, and again, people will say, you will say that, but we have a fantastic experienced team who've been doing it a long time, and they can say, people say, it just goes together like excuse me, like Lego. It's so much more, but it's when that concrete pump turns up on site that it becomes serious. So, years ago you used to be able to hire a pump for 4 hours, and you might be rushing about to try and get it away within the 4 hours, and you might get problems there or burst. Now we've got to pay 8 hours, so if it takes 8 hours, that's what it's taken. So what we do is we set the pump up and we keep going around the building 2 courses at a time till it reaches that story height, so that we don't get any bursts. If there's a bit of rebar in, we'll use a 25mm vibrating poker to get the concrete round the steel. We've got props, push-pull prop, which I've showcased on my YouTube channel. So if I can just get a little plug in, if anybody wants to subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's ICF World by Stephen. It's going pretty well, but we could do with a few more subscribers so that I can. I need to get to 50 before I can go live on YouTube. So if anybody fancies subscribing, it's ICF World by Stephen. Bit of shameless self promotion there, but that's where we are. So we use the push pull props that'll either push it out, pull it in so that's plumb. We have a line on the outside so it's straight, and then whatever flooring method, whether that be, whether that's crinkly tin or joists and timber or hollow core or block and beam, it can all go there. Yeah,